Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgi, and welcome to another episode of Thorgi Reviews, the review show where I tackle everything from the world of geekery, and today we got a treat for you guys, because today I'm finally going to talk about the new smash hit movie that everyone can't get enough of, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadow. That's right, the hit new film that you guys have been asking me to talk about. That's weird. I said the hit new movie that you guys have all been asking me to talk about. What the hell's going on here? Why does nobody want to talk about this thing? It's ruling the box office at the moment. You should all be asking for— Whoa! Is that box office accurate? Where the hell is it? It just came out. Oh, for real? Oh, that's sad. Well, at least it's doing well overseas, right? Oh, soundboard, no. No, say it isn't so, soundboard. Huh. I guess nobody cares about this movie. Maybe I should just talk about that new Voltron cartoon. Well, too bad! I paid to see this thing, so we're gonna talk about it. Oh, God. Oh, guys. Oh, God. Start the title card! Start the title card! Okay, let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is that I'm about to review a film that not a lot of you cared enough about to go out and see, and in all honesty is not going to be at theaters much longer. However, I promised all of you a review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, and darn it, for once I'm going to deliver on a promise on this site. Plus it was either that or reviewing Independence Day Resurgence, and spoiler alert, nobody is going out to see that film either. However, I can't blame people for not going out to see this film. It's the sequel to a film that was successful? I mean, yes, it brought in a ton of money. However, critics and audiences alike left that movie going, yeah, I didn't really care for that. I feel at this point I should clarify I'm talking about the Turtles again. But this film is attempting to correct the mistakes of the first movie. Because you see, the people who did not like that first film, they left it going, that's not the Turtles I know. That's not the Turtles I grew up with. My Turtles were more fun, they were more goofy. This one's trying to be too dark and edgy and centering mostly around the humans. This film is attempting to correct that. It's attempting to give you those Turtles that you knew and loved as a kid. However, it's also being produced by Michael Bay, so it's kind of like having a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, except you're replacing all the chocolate with, I don't know, flaming malt liquor. So before I get into this movie, I should probably let you guys know how I felt about that last Turtles film. In all honesty, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a really cool 15-minute long Ninja Turtle fan movie that someone took and went, oh man, this is pretty good. Can you make it an hour and a half long? No? Okay, then we'll just take what we have here and then pad it out with a bunch of boring human stuff. And that was my biggest problem with the first film. I thought the Turtles were okay, but they felt like guest stars in their own movie. It felt like this was a movie mostly focused on the humans, and I did not care about any of those human characters. And besides, just on principle, making a Turtles film where you focus mostly on April O'Neil and her cameraman is kind of like making a movie about Richard Nixon going off to China and you spend the entire movie focusing on Gerald Ford. But that's the first improvement that I have to talk about in this film. This is indeed a Turtles film. They are the center of this movie. They are the stars of this film. This is a movie about them. Doesn't feel like that should be counted as a positive, more as a no duh, but you gotta point out the improvements wherever you find them. This is now indeed a Turtles film. It is a film about them, and it's a film that's trying to capture the tone of them, the tone of that old 80s cartoon. The previous film was trying to have a plot from that 80s cartoon while capturing the tone of the darker Eastman comics, so you just had two tones that did not fit at all. This film is all one thing. It is all completely trying to be the goofy 80s cartoon that you grew up with, and I feel they capture that pretty well. Now the question is, was that a good idea? Alright, I'm about to talk about the story, but before I get into it, I should go ahead and tell everyone this review is going to be spoiler-free-ish. It is going to talk about anything that was already revealed in the trailers. So, for anybody out there who has completely avoided all the trailers, then how the hell did you do that? It's the 21st century. How do you avoid trailers these days? YouTube literally slams them in my face whenever I go on that site with a big spoiled twist right there on the title card. You can't avoid trailers anymore. But if you somehow have managed to do that and you do not want to be spoiled by anything I talk about in here, then go ahead and click off now. But I'm not going to get into the big spoilery stuff, but for anybody who does want to hear me talk about that, then click right here to see my post Geek Out reaction. That's a series that I have on this channel in which I just go into spoiler discussions and my honest thoughts about the film that I just watched. So if you do want to hear me talk about spoilers and just open, honest discussion about the thing that I just watched, go ahead and click right there. But for everybody else who wants to continue this review, let's jump into the story. Shredder is escaping from prison and he is given a purple ooze that can turn humans into animal mutants. With the help of Baxter Stockman, he uses the ooze to create two powerful henchmen, Bebop and Rocksteady. Shredder needs to send these henchmen to gather pieces of a portal that will allow his partner Krang to enter this world. But at the same time, the turtles are arguing with each other because it turns out that this ooze could possibly turn the turtles into humans, and there's a split in the team over what they should do about this. Yes, I know it sounds crazy, but this thing is called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Are you seriously going to start questioning logic now? Okay, first positive, the turtles. I gotta admit, the turtles are great in this film. They each have really bright and vibrant personalities that play off each other really well. They really do feel like brothers. You really do get a sense of that bond with each other, not just in the way that they work with each other, but also in the way that they argue with each other. They really do feel like the turtles that I knew growing up. I mean, sure, it's not amazing filmmaking, but it's fun. And I gotta admit, Mikey actually made me laugh. But not just because of the lines that he was given, but mostly because of the way that he was animated. The animation on these turtles is fantastic. There was a scene in which Mikey went up to the surface during a Halloween parade, and he talked to another human, and I went, oh my god, he looks just as real as the actual real human standing there. It's stunning at points in this film. But as I said, he made me laugh throughout this film, and it wasn't just because he looked really good, it's because of the animation on him. It's because of their expressions and their emotions and how their bodies move. They really knew how to use their expressions and their body language to punch up whatever dialogue they were given in this film. But it's not just the writing and the acting and the special effects that make the humorous moments and the brotherhood in this film come across, those also make the dramatic moments come across. Yes, there are dramatic moments in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I was not expecting to say that either. However, there are moments in here where Leonardo and Raph are arguing with each other, and it's not like in the previous film where they were arguing just because Raph has anger issues and he's rebellious. No, there's an actual thing that comes up in this movie that causes them to argue, and I looked at it and went, yeah, that's an actual thing that you would argue about. And you both honestly do have a valid point for your argument, and I can see how you two would clash heads over this. And when you do clash heads, it doesn't just feel like you're doing it because it's in the script. It feels like you're doing it because you are these characters, and you do have this history with each other. They actually pull that off incredibly well. But there are also moments in which you can kind of feel the pain coming from these characters when they think about the idea of becoming human, especially Mikey. He is the most bright and vibrant character throughout this entire film, so when he gets sad over the idea of possibly being human, or of the way that other humans look at them, yeah, you feel it. You can just look at his expression and go, oh my god, I understand how this hurts you. But the turtles aren't the only impressive CG characters in this film. Bebop and Rocksteady. They nailed those guys. I love Bebop and Rocksteady. I love them when I was a kid watching the cartoon. I love them as an adult when I'm reading the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic. Seriously, for anybody out there who considers themselves a Turtles fan, and you do want a book that captures all that stuff that you loved about the old Turtles, but kind of matures it just enough for you at your age, the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic is golden. You need to pick that up, and they are amazing in there. The point I'm trying to get at is, I love these two idiots. They're some of my favorite henchmen in all of anything. And this film nails them. They are that perfect level of lovable dumbass. Because they're just strong enough and just competent enough to pull off these heists, but they're also stupid enough to be entertaining. And they have one of the best bromances in any film. Anytime that they just start slapping each other, yelling out, "My man!" I had a huge grin on my face. Now for the negatives. The humans. Oh, the humans. This film and Warcraft, if you got a movie full of giant green CG dudes, the humans are going to screw it up. And they did again here. I will say this. Tyler Perry as Baxter Stockman is actually pretty good. I will give him that, because when I saw that he would be playing Baxter Stockman, I said there's two ways that you can go with Baxter Stockman. You can have him being the cold, calculating, serious businessman, or you can have him be the goofy cartoon character, and I was really hoping it was going to be this one, because Tyler Perry can't really act, but he can play a character, and that's what he did in this film. They had him be the goofy cartoon character, and Tyler Perry can play a goofy cartoon character. He was having a blast in this film. He was having a ton of fun, and he spread that fun out into the audience. Every other human in here is a waste. Stephen Amell as Casey Jones is really one note, and he lacks a lot of the character that makes Casey Jones work. Megan Fox? Yeah, what can I say about her April O'Neil that the rest of the internet hasn't already said? Will Arnett is turning in just as much of a performance as he has to in order to get his check, and the new actor playing the Shredder, he's cool, he is. But they don't do anything with him. He's kind of wasted in this movie. And the story? Hoo boy! The story is dumb. And this movie knows that it's dumb. This movie wants to turn to you at every moment and just go, for real man? You're going to question this? And hey, as I said, I don't really have a problem with a dumb, crazy plot in a Ninja Turtles film because it's a Ninja Turtles film. If you traveled back in time and watched those cartoons that you saw as a kid, they would kind of have very similar plots. I mean, if you saw a cartoon when you were a kid in which they had to travel all around the world in order to get pieces of a machine to bring a giant talking brain through, you would not have questioned it at all. However, that's no excuse to be lazy. And that's what this movie is. It's almost like the people who were writing this had a note stuck to their computer that said, do whatever you have to do to keep this movie moving. Do whatever you have to do to get to the next scene. And in all honesty, it does that. This movie does indeed move, however it leads to a lot of really lazy and dumb moments that just make you question what's going on here. For instance, there will be tons of times in which characters will be talking with each other about a thing that one of the characters should know nothing about, and yet they seem to already know about it because, hey man, we don't have time to sit around and explain this stuff. Or there will be a moment where they have to travel all the way to Brazil to get a piece of something, and then they have to get back, and that entire trip feels like it takes only an hour because the Turtles had to be back in New York at that specific time, so who cares if it makes no sense. And I talked about Krang in this film. You might be thinking that Krang gets a lot of build-up, that there's all these moments leading up to him for a big reveal. No. He is instantly just there. No setup at all. He's not even talking from the shadows like, oh, who might that be? Nope, he is indeed out of the shadows in this film. He is there instantly. Krang is introduced with the Shredder just beaming in. Boop, where am I?
Hello, I'm Krang. Create a portal to send me to Earth and I'll give you unlimited power.
Deal. And scene. So yeah, this script moves fast. So fast that we miss out on a ton of stuff that we would have loved to see. The fight between the Turtles and Bebop and Rocksteady is great, but it leaves you going, okay, so when's the next one going to happen? When's round 2 going to begin? There's no round 2. That was it. Just to keep your hopes from getting too high, that was all you're going to see. And yeah, the fight with the Krang is really cool, but what about Shredder? Where's the Shredder in all this? They just totally skip over him, and it just really feels like it was because they were like, that'd be too hard to figure out a way to write him into this. Alright, just do something with him that could possibly lead into the next film. But here's the thing. I might be pointing out tons of problems that I have with this movie, but you know how throughout this entire review I've kept bringing up that people were demanding that this movie be more like the cartoon that they grew up with as a kid? Yeah, go back and watch that cartoon. All the stuff that I am complaining about in this movie, if you had put it in that cartoon, nobody would have questioned it. Characters just popping up out of nowhere, nobody explaining anything, people just knowing stuff because they have to, traveling around the world like it's nothing. If you did that in the old cartoon, I would have loved it as a kid. I would have had no problem with it as a kid. And sure, we as adults who grew up on that cartoon, we might wish that this movie had been more all-age friendly, more of a film for us, something that captured that spirit but at the same time still rewrote some parts to be a little bit more appropriate for more mature audiences. But that's not what the cartoon was. The cartoon was made for kids. And this movie, it's made for kids. Aside from one gratuitous shot of Megan Fox changing into a schoolgirl outfit, seriously, get her away from Michael Bay. Something seriously wrong is happening there. But aside from that moment, this film was great for kids. I was in an audience full of kids, and they were losing their minds over it. They were loving it. The same way that I loved the Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. That's what the Turtles were back in my day. They were aimed at kids. And today, if you want something different, you don't have to look far. There's actually a bunch of Turtles properties out there that are aimed at different audiences. For example, the current Nickelodeon cartoon is a great all-ages cartoon, and if you want something that's a little bit more mature but at the same time reminds you of all that stuff you loved as a kid, then as I said, the IDW comic is great. It's perfect for that. But that thing that you loved in the past, that you demanded that this movie be, it was just for kids. It was goofy, bright characters, zany action and comedy, with wild imagination all being thrown in your face, and most of it was kinda dumb and aimed to sell you toys. And now that we're adults, we can see that. But if you're still a kid, you're not going to care. You're not going to mind that. You're going to have a fun time. So if you're a kid, enjoy. However, the majority of my audience is not under 10 years old. At least I hope they're not, considering how much I curse on this channel. So, for my audience, I have to give this movie my score of 1 inner child. That's right, we all have one. We all have that voice in the back of our head that says, I just want to enjoy the stuff that I loved when I was a kid. I don't want the boring adult side of my brain to come in here and poo-poo all over my fun. So if you can get in touch with that voice and let them come up for air and roam free for an hour and a half, then go ahead and enjoy this film. However, if at any point during this movie, you feel the question, hey, how did start to come up in your mouth, just stand up and politely escort yourself out of the theater because, brother, this movie is not for you. But for everybody else out there who can get in touch with their inner child, listen to them, and go and enjoy this film. Who am I kidding? Your inner child is asking you right now to go and see Finding Dory, and they're right to do so because it is indeed the superior film featuring giant CG turtles. So that's it for this episode of Thorgi Reviews, everyone. Make sure to come back next week when we're going to be reviewing something very different. By which I mean, it's actually good and people have actually seen it. Yeah, after Warcraft and Turtles back to back, I need to change it up a bit. But if you want to see what that is, then make sure that you click that subscribe button at the end of this video. Also, if you want to request things for me to review, whether it be a movie, TV show, video game, anything from the world of geekery, then you can get in contact with me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgi. Also, if you want to see that spoiler discussion of mine or another review of mine, then make sure to click on those at the end of this video that's coming up right after I say, thanks for watching everyone, good night.